at all levels. At all levels, because you see, sometimes people think, you know, it is okay when the top is good. Our president is a lawyer. We have several educated people, Harvard and so on. His graduation, Muzidaba. That's a good thing. But we don't want it to be just at the top. At all levels. Because you see, we need leaders at all levels in this our country. And so from what I see, we are ready to run government. So people who had any doubts, are these people ready? Do they have what it takes? We are here and we are ready. People came from the bush, they didn't know what to do, they could not speak the English you're speaking, they had not even a single qualification. But for us, we have said, let's get ready. So that it's one thing to remove this regime, which we are going to do very soon. It's another thing for us to successfully run government, and this shows that we are ready to run government, to change this country, to better the trajectory of our country. And that's what we are doing. Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. That is true. And maybe that's why this government has refused to focus on education. Because uneducated people are very easy to rule over. They're very easy to manipulate. We have always made the case, UPE, Universal Primary Education, which is supposed to be a good program. Capitation grant that is given money to run the schools, to cater for the educational needs of each child, is 20,000 shillings. Not per week. Not per
Oli ku Mapo Media TV.
Per year. Just think about that. 20,000 shillings allocated to each child as capitation grant in the UPE schools per year for the whole year. And somehow that child is supposed to compete with schools, private schools, the good ones and so on, to compete with the rest of the world. Not just locally here. It cannot happen. And that's why we remain raw, we remain in the vicious cycle. And for us in our alternative policies, we have always said, let's increase this capitation grant. If we are sitting here about educating this young generation to become the kind of leaders we want them to be, let's push it up. In fact, for us, we have said at the bare minimum, let's multiply it by 5 at the bare minimum for a start. So it is still at 20,000 shillings. That's why we have said severally, let's pay all teachers very well. Not some teachers. Because what government decided, let's pay just the science teachers well. How about the arts teachers? The arts are important too. Because they're all teachers, they've qualified similarly, they teach the same man hours or woman hours. Let's pay all teachers well. Because when you don't do that, these teachers, they become lethargic. You can force them to go to class, as was the case, because Mr. Museveni called them to State House, intimidated them and said, go back to class quickly. And the poor teachers have gone back to class. But they're not teaching as they should be teaching. They're not passing on the knowledge they should be passing on. Because they're not well motivated. So they will be in class, yes. They will hold chalk. And they'll not pass on the right content to these children. So all of those things affect education. And so this government is deliberate about frustrating education. Because when people remain there, in that state, research has told us that children who are in P7 in UPE schools, they cannot do P2 work. That's the research that was conducted by an entity called WEZO. Children who are in P7 UPE schools, they cannot do work of P2. But they're in P7. And then they'll go to secondary and so on. So they remain shallow. That's what we want to change. That's what our government is going to change. Very deliberately. So that we become a better country. So that people who are educated can challenge leaders. Because when you're not educated, you've been seeing Mr. Museveni moving around. Those poor people, at whatever age, elderly, they will kneel down and he gives them an envelope, which has, I don't know, maybe 50,000 or that kind of thing, whatever amount. But somebody who is educated, somebody who knows the value of them being a citizen, will be challenging the leader and saying, no, before you give us those envelopes, where are the roads you promised us? Where is the good healthcare? Where is the good education, infrastructure, service delivery, and so on and so forth? So that's what we want to do. And we have begun it here. So we congratulate you once again. kati busogera Luganda bannange tembitegedde wamma kale just kandwogere ku lw'abana abali eri abazadde bamanyi oluzungu ngamba abali wali bannamawulire twagala okuyozaayoza abasomi bane mwebale kusoma yoge kusoma kikulu nnyo era ndabamu abantu bangi ndabala akulembeza abamu abava mu Nakawa West mwebale kusoma muyimirire kale pulezidenti alabe nti abannakawa tusoma obalabye pulezidenti obalabye abo bakansala abafaawo basomye mwebale butatuswaza ekyokusoma ekyokuyiga kikulu nnyo ate okuyiga tulina okimanya nti okuyiga waliwo okuyiga okubeera mu kiraasi university nakino okola degree masters phd n'ebirala ne waliwo n'okuyiga nti ogenda kubangulwa kino koosi gye musomye oyinza obutagiteeka ku CV yo nekuweesa omulimu naye kubangudde tekulese kyekimu bayirewo no ne ku CV muziteekeko tomanya ojja kutuuka mu ofiisi omuntu ategeere nti ntambuza emirimu gyaffe nga NUP wanalabako kakoosi ajagamba ono gwe njagala ono abimanyi tubayozaayoza mwebale kuwaayo kaseera bw'obeera omukulembeze kirungi okusigala ng'otambulira mu kumanya kubanga okumanya tekukuma otuuka ekiseera n'ogamba nti kaakati nze nkikubye nnyo abo otandise okwonooneka tulina tambulira mu kumanya mu kwongerako okwogera okutegeera ensi nga bw'etambula. Nelson Mandela yagamba nti education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Nti okusoma oba ebyenjigiriza kyakulwanyisa kinene nnyo ekisobola okukozesebwa okukyusa ensi ate nga kituufu kubanga abantu babanga basomyeko nga bayigirivu bibeera byanjawulo eggwanga eryo libeera lyanjawulo nnyo n'engeri gye balondamu n'engeri gye basalawo engeri gye bateeka abakulembeze ku nninga ebeera yanjawulo kyovudde olaba oba oliawo gavumenti eno ebyenjigiriza tebiteekako nnyo ssira tubeereyo mu palamenti nga tubiyombako UPE Universal Primary Education kibayita capitation grant nti zino ssente zigenda kuyisa omwana ono mu ssomero ebyenjigiriza bye naki buli mwaka buli mwana bamusasulira $200 omwaka gwonna si wiiki si mwezi si ttaamu omwaka gwonna kakati gwe teebereza $200 omwaka omulamba oyo omwana gwe basuubira nti ajja kutuula ebibuuzo bye bimu n'abagenda mu masomero agali wano e Kampala oyo mwana gwe basuubira nti ajja kusobola okompiitinga n'abaana bali mu nsi endala zonna mu nsi yonna tekisoboka kyondola tusigala tuli mabega ne tugamba nti abasomesa bonna basasulwe bulungi gavumenti yo yagamba nti tujja sasulamu abasayansi bokka ate abalala aba arts bo si basomesa bo tebasomesa ssaawa zezimu tebatula mu classroom yemu of course kyeyakola mwami Museveni n'abayita n'abakangakanga abo mutagende mu class tujja bagoba bambi abasomesa ne batya aba arts ne baddayo okwekalakasa ne bakuyimiriza ne baddayo okusomesa naye ebyaddala bw'obigoberera abasomesa bali mu kibiina naye tebasomesa nga bwe kirina kubeera kubanga tebali motivated tebajja kuwaayo buli kimu ekibalimu okusomesa abaana bano obulungi kubanga si basanyufu kati bajja kusomesako bya mpola mpola kati golooza nti bali mu kibiina basomesa naye nga ate tebasomesa kati ovudola baffe tugamba ebintu ebyo tulina obikyusa gavumenti yaffe egenda bikyusa tuteeke essira ku byenjigiriza kubanga abantu abasomyeko abayigirivu tebajja kukola nga bino bemuzemula mwami Museveni alambula n'agenda okulambula abalina obubizi abalina obukoko obusatu bambi abantu abaavu najja n'afukamira n'amuwa ebbaasa erimu oba $50 oba mmeka kati omuntu asomyeko abagamba nedda saagala bbaasa yo njagala luguudo njagala mu ddwaliro twagala mirimu ng'abavubuka kati kyovudola abatubeezaawo ffe kitwagala kikyuke ng'abantu bamanye ekyokukola bamanye ekyokubanja abakulembeze baabwe si just bbaasa mwetwagala okusoboka era pulezidenti njagala kugumya nga tumaze okutwala obukulembeze ate ekyo nga tekiri wala nnyo tulina obumalirivu tulina obusobozi obuddukanya gavumenti Wanga tekikomenda ku bakulembeze nti bafuna zi masters ne tuzifuna aba Harvard na ki twagala kiremeko bakulembeze ab'oku ntikko fenna tubenga tumanye ekyokukola. Waba president kali mu State House si abeera akulembera ye abeera n'abakulembeze ab'enjawulo. Kati kino kitulaga nti ffe tuli ready okuddukanya gavumenti. Twagala okusoomooza abalala namwe mujje musome mulabe nga eggwanga ligenda maaso. Congratulations again.
Kama wange mwongere engalo ez'amaanyi. Naffe aba media tuli basanyufu nti mu ssomero Jonas Sebo we bali kusoma. Yimirira abantu bakulabeko. Yimirira leero alina mutaayi. Ali mutaayi naye yasomye. So buli muntu alina eddembe okulaba nti ayongerwako kyasobola okukola ki okwongerwako. Mr. President and the Secretariat, I will indulge you just for a minute. These graduates forgot just a small act. Please, mujje mugabe ekirabo kyammwe ekyo mu ddakiika emu tugende ku programu endala. Temugenda funa n'omukisa gwa kwogera okuggyako okusoma nti kati gwe nno ekirabo naawe nno ekirabo.
So much. The President, Deputy Presidents, the Leader of Opposition, Secretary General.
Yes, abatulaba ku Mapu Media TV kansubire nti muli bulungi. Tugenda maaso buli kintu kyonna nga mukiraba bulungi nnyo. Ntumiddeko baganda bange ab'e Wakiso Town Council. Muganda wange Musaazi ntumiddeko pastor waffe, omukulembeze waffe, ntumiddeko registrar bateesaki n'abalala bangi abali ku mukutu gwa Mapu ogw'e Wakiso Town Council. Abakulembeze mwenna abeesimbyewo ku 5 kansala abantu 6 mwenna mbatumiddeko. Abalala mwenna abeesimbyewo ku mutendera gwonna bannamanda baani mwenna mbatumiddeko baganda bange.
Thank you so much for everything you have been doing for us. We pray for you. Feel appreciated in all ways. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Our second gift goes to Razak Dalil. Where's Razak? We have a gift for you. Mr. Razak. That man wouldn't allow us. So feel appreciated. Thank you so much for everything you do. Feel appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Feel appreciated. And our last gift goes to Mr. Kabanda, the security officer. Kabanda Zoe. Kabanda Zoe. Yeah, Kabanda will make sure once principal says it's 5 p.m., even if you come at 1 minute past, you go back. So thank you so much. Feel appreciated. Gifts from Class B professionals. Thank you.
Ebbaga kino nakireetedde President okuva e Jamaica. Mr. President nkuleetedde ekirabo ekyokunjigiriza okusoma. Ekyo nakijja e Jamaica.
Kino ekyaffe kivudde mu class A, class y'aba foot soldier. Tukireetedde coordinator waffe Madam Kaija nga tumwebaza olw'okubeera maama n'atulera bulungi paka we tumaliriza. Thank you so much. Ate ne baasa tugenda juwa foot soldier munnaffe yamenyeka okugulu nga bagendeeyo mu Tuwa bamutomera okugulu ne kuvaako Seruga. Era sawa zino era akyali mu struggle wadde yavaako okugulu Mr. President. Muzoganyi waffe oyo.
Yes, baganda bange abatulaba ku Mapu Media TV tukyagendera ddala mu maaso omukolo gwa kutikkira abayizi baffe abasomedde Kamwokya. Tumiddeko baganda bange mwenna abewakiso Town Council mwenna mbatumiddeko musaazi nkutumiddeko nagambye ngenda kukutumira musaazi ne baganda bange bonna beneesimbyewo nabo ku kifo kya LC5 kansala mwenna mbatumiddeko nnyo. Tugenda maaso tulina omukulembeze w'eggwanga His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu n'abakulembeze abalala bonna webali.
I want to thank the organizing committee of this place, the executive secretary of the president, Sarah Mukubireko Mungalo, okutuyootera n'akakiiko ke konna manyi nti ali wala waliyo n'ebirala bye tuteeseteese temuvaawo nga tetukoze eki tetubibawadde naddala ba student twabalowoozezzaako mu ngeri ey'enjawulo.
Oritia! Kunga School of Leadership, Kunga! Doreen, Kunga NUP, Kunga! Your Excellency, the de facto and de jure President of the Republic of Uganda, it's not only the love people are showing you, it is that you inspired us across generations. You inspired us across the geography. You even demystified geography because you went virtual. You have gone spiritual. Who are we on behalf of the deputy presidents from the 4 regions? Inspired by the truth that as my generation sent fear to respond to fear, you led a generation and lead a generation that has sent hope to open the door for fear. And fear has run away. I've seen it, I've touched it. Yes. You have instilled and created and reincarnated the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. As they were speaking, I was walking through mentally, emotionally, that generation. I couldn't cry. We can't now cry because you are the Martin Luther King Jr. multiplied many times. What can we say? Today we can't say. We have been ignited, we are on fire, yes, and we are ready to move. Olwecho, nzikiriza. Kakutwale obude buno, n'emikisa gino, bana Uganda yenna fena, mu online, ne physically, tulinda olwaleero era ddala okuva wano n'amaanyi ebyo tugendewa kubanga ffe tumanyi tulaga naye gwe okulembese waffe era ddala we believe in you, we trust in you, you inspire us. May I have the honor to invite you.
Oli ku Mapu Media TV.
People power! Our power!
People power.
NUP! Everywhere! Oritia! Kunga Uganda, kunga Mama Zedriga, kunga School of Leadership, kunga.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. Madam Deputy Presidents from Western Uganda and from Northern Uganda, our dear guest, Professor Spire, fellow leaders, members, ladies and gentlemen, I salute you today. As a matter of fact, today, I don't have so much to share with you. I'm only here, just like the rest of us, to feed from the cup of wisdom of Professor Spire, a man who we admire from a distance, but we are honored to host you for the first time today, and hope to host you many, many more times in the future. However, before I invite you, sir, today I must make this comment. Looking at these amazing people passing out again from our School of Leadership throws my mind so many years ago. So many years in that very ghetto of Kamocha. That place was a hangout place for ghetto youth. From their border works, from their car washing works, and those others who would come from their wallet snatching escapades. That is a ghetto where many of us would meet. I was one of them, but I had got the rare opportunity to go to school, though not substantially. So in the year 2016, I made a conscious decision to go back to law school. And that's where I met that man with the bald head called David Lewis Lubongoya. But everything that we learned in law school, I found it important to share with my fellow ghetto youth. So every lecture that we concluded, myself and Nubian Lee would hang out in the same ghetto and share the same with the ghetto youths of that day, but in a local language and in a more simplified version. When we started the People Power movement that culminated into the National Unity Platform, that very place was turned into our first headquarters. Of course, it was a pain for so many ghetto youth. Their claim was, "Father, that's what they used to call me back in the ghetto. You've given away our place to the intellectuals." My answer to them was, "I'm only bringing knowledge closer to you." I'm very glad to see that those words continue to come to action as we move forward. Among them were many of our comrades that I'm seeing today transforming just like myself have been transforming. We give glory back to the Almighty God for that. Friends, things are possible and things are achievable only if you don't stop dreaming. So it fills my heart with pleasure, with gratitude, with satisfaction, and with pride to see that this is where we are today. We're certainly not where we want to be, but we are not where we used to be. But what is most important is that we are the same people, and I hope we shall continue to be the same people, only transforming from good to better. We thank God that we are here. I salute all of you that embraced the call to better yourselves. And I'll tell you, comrades, that Malcolm X was not wrong to say that education is the passport to the future. No, he wasn't. I want to assure you that Steve Biko was not wrong when he said the most important weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. No, he was not wrong. And yes, Che Guevara was not wrong to say the first duty of a revolutionary is to get educated. Here we are. You have taken the first step. You've accomplished the first duty, although education never ends. Please take the next one to put that you've learned into action, and we shall be the leaders worth our salt. I congratulate you. Go fly, go make us proud, go make Uganda proud. Go represent us, because everybody looking at you will be seeing all of us here. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. bannange kya kitiibwa nnyo bassebo ne bannyabo abazadde baffe abali wano leero abagole baffe bakulembeze bannange mwenna n'okusingira ddala omugenyi waffe ow'enjawulo Dr. Spire Ssentongo tukwaniriza nnyo ssebo omulundi gwaffe ogusoose okukyaza era twesunze okwongera okukyaza nate enfunda eziwerako mu biseera eby'omu maaso bannange leero saatesetese kwogera bingi nga mbadde neererejja ennaku eziyise olwaleero nange okufaanana n'abalala bali wano nange nazze kuyiga mu bigambo eby'amakulu ebiva mu mugenyi waffe omukulu Dr. Spire bwe tubadde tuyigirako from a distance mwena abajjukira munajjukira ti Professor Spire abadde wanjawulo nnyo waliwo omukulembeze gye buvuddeko yagamba nti mu biseera biri ebyayita abayivu omulimu gwabwe balina okusalawo kwa mirundi ebiri eiza okukola omulimu gwabwe nakera ku makya nasibetaye nagenda ku university nasomesa nawandiika ebitabo nasirikiraawo oba okudduka mu ggwanga babaawo okwogera mazima twagala okusiima ssebo Dr. Spire nti tubadde nga ba intellectual ab'omulembe guno abamanyi amazima ate nga bagezi naye nga amagezi gaabwe bagakozesa okukuumira mu kifo obutali bwenkanya ssebo okuuza omulimu gw'amaanyi gwe watandika zi exhibitions omwali neya paliamenti n'olabisa abantu bangi muli ne batyali baffe naye oba oli awo ekyo omuntu yenna alina ayagala ensi ye kyalina okukola okulaga amazima ssebo tukwebaza webale nyo webalire ddala olunaku lwaleero lwa nkizo baganda bange ate erinze lundeetera ebirowoozo bingi kuba bwe ntunuulira abayizi baffe olunaku lwaleero abagenda okutikkirwa n'okufuna certificates obwongo bwange budduka ne buddayo emyaka mingi nnyo emabega ekifo ekyo kyennyini awali essomero lyaffe ery'obukulembeze twakiyitanga barracks nga tukyali ba fire base crew ekifo ekyo lyali kuŋŋaaniro ly'abaana ba ghetto bonna gye bavudde mu kupambana kwabwe abatembeeyi nga bakooye nga bapoyeraawo abavudde okwoza emmotoka nga bapoyeraawo n'abava okunyakula obusimu nga nabo bapoyeraawo so eyo yali nga ntabiro y'abaana ba ghetto era ebiseera ebyo ngeyali ghetto president nafunanga omukisa okulimyangamu nabo ekyenjawulo nti nze nalina omukisa nga ndi mwana wa ghetto naye nga nasomako olwaawo nali saagenda wala era nga wetusiikanira ne twogera ku mbeera zetuyitamu mu mwaka gwa 2016 nasalawo okuddayo kusomero okusoma amateeka era twalina omusomesa waffe yatusomesanga amateeka yali tanakutuka kiwalaata sigamba nti yakikutuka omusajja oyo yali muwanvuwanvu we abamu temumanyi bali bamuyita lubongoya naye nga buli lecture gye tumala muno class bweva ku university ate eyo lecture nzija nengimenyeramenyeramu bakyali bange mu ghetto ebiseera ebyo kyatukolanga bulungi kubanga ffe twali tulina ensisinkana ey'enjawulo eyebangula nga buli omu kyamanyi akiyigiriza omulala kuba mu ghetto twalina enkola ya each one teach one era kyomanyi okiyigiriza banno mulimi lwabwe kyakitiibwa nnyo titugenze tweyubula okutuuka ku kiseera kino naye nga tetunaba kweyubula wajjawo obwetaavu era ne tuyitibwa tulina okukkiriza nti guno omulimu Katonda yatuyita tugukole era omulimu ogwo twasalawo okukola twatandika ekisinde kye bayita People Power Movement ekyayiyubula ne kifuuka National Unity Platform era nga mu kifo ekyo bwe twateeka ekitebe kyaffe ekyasooka abaana abageta abasooka okomplaininga kwemulugunya nti fada ate ekifo kyaffe tubadde tutoyera naffe obadde tuyigirizaamu olwo actually ate kati okiwadde bano ba actually bennyini mukubaddamu nabagamba ngezaako okusembeza kumanya gye muli kyali tekirabibwa kiseera ekyo nebaza Katonda nti kitandise okulabibwa bwe twafuna omukisa ne tufuna ekitebe ekineneko wano wenyini we tuli olw'ekisa kya Katonda twafuna era ekirowoozo ekifuulira ddala awo essomero mu bantu abaabeeranga awo mu biseera bya ghetto ndi musanyufu okulaba ate mu kweyubula kwaffe tetwebudde nga Lopu bw'agambye Comrade Ssenyonyi bakulembeze bankutiko bokka naye mu abo bwe mwali nga ndabyeko Dogo City One oyo yali omu ku bo, ndabyeko Paafu gye waali wano, Paafu gye yali omu ku bo, era mu abo abaana abaali ngaawo nga bayaye baawo bwe twafuna n'omu ku bakulembeze gwe bayita Twaha Amin oyo ng'akiikirira Naggulu. Naye njagala okwebaza mwenna baganda baffe abaawulira omulango ogwo ogw'okukkiriza okuyiga era ne mwenyigira mu kusoma okwo. Guno gwe mulundi ogwokubiri nga tupasinga out oba nga tutikkira abayizi okuva mu ssomero eryo. Mbeebaza nnyo, mbeebaza okumanya ensonga enkulu. Kino tekikoma ku muntu omu, naye kikulu nnyo bwe kyomanyi n'okiyigiriza omulala naye n'akiyigiriza omulala naye n'akiyigiriza omulala. Y'engeri gye tusobodde okubeerawo, bye tumanyi tubimanyi kubanga abaatusookawo baatuwa omukisa ne tubiyiga. Kyova olaba mbagamba nti yali mutuufu nnyo omugezi Malcolm X bwe yagamba nti okuyiga ye passport egenda okutwambuza okutuusa mu biseera by'omu maaso ebyokweyagala. Yali mutuufu nnyo Steve Biko bwe yagamba ekyokulwanyisa ekyasinze okuba eky'amaanyi nga kiri mu mikono gy'oyo anyigiriza bwe bwongo oba endowooza y'oyo anyigirizibwa. Era yali mutuufu Kyeguvera nga tugamba nti omulimu gw'oyo omulwanirizi w'eddembe ogusookera ddala kwe kuyigirizibwa oba okubangulwa. Kyakitiibwa nnyo ti ne mu kaseera kano tulina ate ababanguddwa mu nnono yaffe, mu ntegera yaffe, mu birubirwa byaffe n'endowooza yaffe n'entegera yaffe ng'aba National Unity Platform. Nina okumanya wa gye tuva ng'eggwanga, musobole okumanya n'okusalawo wa gye tugenda oba gye tulina okugenda. Tosobola kumanya wa gy'olaga nga tomanyi gy'ova. Nedda, omugezi omu yagamba the farther back you look is the farther in front you see. Tewetaaga kulengera nnyo mu maaso okumanya gy'olaga. Nedda, tunula weetegereze wa gye tuvudde. Kijja kuwa ekifaananyi okulaba wa gye tulaga oba n'okuwa endowooza oba ebirowoozo enteekateeka wa gye tulina okulaga. Ekyo nno kye tuliko olunaku lwa leero basewo ne bannyabo. Njagala obbayozaayoza mwenna abeewaddeyo abatindiza eŋŋendo nga muganda waffe okuva e Kasese n'ojja n'obeera part of us n'ojja n'oyiga. Njagala okusalutinga abaganda baffe, ndabye Jona wano omu ku bakulembeze ababannamawulire baffe okuba nti mu skedule eri bize osobodde okwewaayo n'osoma. Nayitayoko ku ssomero nasanyuka nnyo n'okusangayo abantu abatalina kye beetaaga nga ba star already nga muganda waffe Dax Cartel, music star already, naye newaayo ayige. Ogwo nno gwe mwoyo n'omutima gwe twetaaga ffenna ng'eggwanga. Mbayozaayoza nnyo basebo ne bannyabo, mugende mutuweese ekitiibwa, mugende mulage ekifaananyi kyaffe. Yemmwe be tulina buli gy'otambula njagala omanye nti otambula naffe ffenna n'emikisa kisigwa bwaffe bonna. Mutuweese ekitiibwa. Abantu abanaabalaba bajja kusinziira ku mmwe okutupima. Mukole kyonna kyonna kye musobola okutuwa ekifaananyi ekirungi. Bye muyize temubikomya ku mmwe mwekka. Batuyigiriza abatuli owamwoyo nti tosobola kukuma tawaaza ate n'ogibikako ekibbo. Bw'okuma etawaaza olina ogireka ekitangaala ne kyakira buli omu. Ate omusubbaawa tegulina kye gufiirwa nga gukozeseddwa okoleeza ku musubbaawa omulala. Muli misubbaawa basebo ne bannyabo, mugende mukulaanye emisubbaawa emirala. Ensi eyake, ffenna twake, tufune ekitangaala. Omugigi gwaffe gusobole okuyamba omugigi gwaffe gwennyini n'emigigi gyonna gyonna eginaddako. Mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala kwewaayo, mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala ate mufuuke bakulembeze. Not even the sky is the limit. Mukama abampere nnyo omukisa, mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala. N'obugambo obwo ssebo Dr. Spire saba okkirize nkuyite ojje oyogereko gye tuli.
mukyayimiridde. Nsuubire ku geeti waliwo obukuumi obumala. Bamwe mwamanyira okuddukadduka abamu kuffe emisinde gyaffe tetugyesiga. Olwekyo abali ku geeti kansuubire baategese bulungi. Nze n'ekigere kinnuma we bajjira wano ntuula butuusi. Honorable Kyagulanyi, the President of NUP, the Leader of Opposition, the Secretary General, all the Deputy Presidents, other party leaders, our graduates, other leaders, the parents to the graduates, friends, everyone. I'm really honored to be before you today as the guest speaker. I congratulate the graduates. I was informed that this is the second certificate awarding ceremony, and that last year the keynote speaker was General Muntu. So this year they looked around for another general. And they felt that I would be the right person to give the keynote speech. Not really to say that the general title is a big one, especially today. But nevertheless, I'm really honored. I want to first thank you before I go into the main, the gist of my invitation. I thank you, many of you, for standing with us when I lost my brother a few days ago. Yeah, many of you are there with us. You sent us messages. I've not read many of the messages because they were overwhelming. You sent messages, condolences, some of you called. Yeah, we really don't take that for granted. Yeah, I thank you so much for that. And in that line, Sabantu Mukisa Eda, to request you that we stand up for a moment of silence in honor of my fallen brother, Dr. John Bosco Kyagulanyi Spire. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you. When I'll not have to translate, I want to assume that many of us will understand me, but also for the sake of including those who may not understand Luganda. Otherwise, if I translate, we might spend the whole day here. So here and there, I'll use a bit of Luganda, but I may not translate everything. When Mr. David Rubongoya reached out to me, I first turned down the invitation. Of course, following the recent loss of my dear brother, I have not yet recovered from the shock and pain. I've been quiet for a while since my mind is not yet in the right place. I'm still going through a long night. But I quickly remembered that when my brother died, Mr. Rubongoya is one of the so many people that reached out to me with condolences and a message from the President, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi. Abaganda bagamba nti munno mukabi. As a friend in difficult times, he's a true friend. But also on top of that, although I have not been very close to Noob, and this is my first time here, on a number of occasions, the leaders have reached out to me, sometimes encouraging me, please visit us, could we have a talk? A few years ago, I held a comedy show, and I was surprised to see the entire crew of Honorable Kyagulanyi. Yes, even Nubian Lee was there with his small voice. I saw him in the audience. Yes, and Eddie Motwe, the Secretary General as well. I was really surprised because I never invited any politician especially I wouldn't invite them because I wanted the show to go on. So I don't know whether their intention was to sabotage the show by their presence. Yeah, but it means a lot if one can just randomly show up, and they showed up in such a number. I'm impressed by people who are humble. I'm impressed by people who do not try to show that they are high up there, but who can come down, regardless of the positions they might hold or their qualifications. And I've seen this on a number of occasions, your leaders going to places where you wouldn't expect them to be. So that being with me, that being with us in grieving, but also on other occasions where it was really surprising for them to be there. I don't take it for granted. I remember even the time I was quarantined, again, Honorable Kyagulanyi called me, and he's one of those that try to encourage me to go through that difficult time. So therefore, despite my current circumstances, I changed my mind and accepted to be here today. A friend I told about coming here asked me to go there. Are you sure you want to be kidnapped while still grieving? I told him that the kidnappers are human, they can't do that. Yes, and sometimes they are too stupid, they would take that for a compliment. The second reason why I accepted is because I believe that my relevance as an academic is primarily in being able to share the knowledge I have been privileged to acquire with my people that might need it. My titles mean little or nothing if I'm irrelevant to my community. We who want to consider ourselves to be highly educated have on so many occasions dismissed those who are trying to change what is not going right in this country. We have said that they lack knowledge. We said they are not well groomed. We have said they are unwashed. We have said they are still raw. In one of the speeches, I think the representatives of the group, yes, she said you went to the training when you were, did you mean raw or low? Oh, when you were raw. And now the president whispered to me that now you're low, L-A-W. Yes, so they said that some of you were raw and dismissed you on that account. Yet whenever we are invited to rise to the occasion, we shy away with excuses. I have chosen to respect whoever tries to do what needs to be done, even if they may not be perfect, even if they may be imperfect. After all, we are all imperfect. Era Abaganda tugamba nti akanyuga lyali nalyo. N'olwekyo mbasaamu ekitiibwa olw'okukanyuga lye muli nalyo wadde abamu bagamba nti ttono oba wadde abamu bagamba nti mukutte ekifunfugu. I will certainly critique them, but in the spirit of improving, not destroying. That is the second reason why I accepted to come. I'm not here because you're perfect. No one is. I'm not here because I agree with everything you do. I'm not here because I think you have the best credentials. I'm here because, unlike many of us, you chose not to fold your hands. You chose to do what you can do in your capacity, which is better than doing nothing. I'm here because despite of all the risks you face, despite of the pictures on those walls of your comrades who have died in the struggle, despite of your colleagues being locked away in this beautiful country's jails without any fair trial, despite frequent threats of crushing you for no good reason, Despite the everyday risk of being rounded up and driven away for torture, despite temptations of big monies being thrown at you, you people still stand by what you believe. I respect that. Yes, it is indeed surprising that with all that has happened at this place, you can still come here and find people seated here. You would only expect a fool to sit in such a place. Because for some, even just passing there, they have to run. Because this is a dangerous place. It's like what we used to hear about Bermuda Triangle. So for you to choose to still stay in a place that is that risky to be, especially where the risk is not for having broken any law, but for standing by a certain cause. I really respect that. Whether I agree with it or not, I still respect it. And especially because we don't have many people today who are willing to take such a stance. The third reason I'm here is because of your constant efforts at making yourselves better. You have challenged many of us at individual level, we who consider ourselves to be more worthy. You have challenged all the political parties and seasoned politicians. Of course, it's not to say or to despise them. They are doing some of them are doing wonderful things. But I think it's a challenge for the few years you've been around to do what you've been able to do. We may publicly bash you, but we privately ask ourselves, aba bavubuka bakikola batya? You have responded to dismissal by proving your capacity to grow and transform, as the president said. We said you're not educated, which was not entirely true, because many of you are really educated and even highly educated. But when we say that you're not educated, many of you went back to school. We said you were bayai, hooligans. Although I think many of you might have believed, like I do, that there is nothing wrong with carrying dreadlocks. You painfully cut them off to fit into the public's idea of a decent person. After all, and this reminds me of a song by Morgan Heritage. You don't, yes, right. You don't have to dread to be Rasta. You don't have to dread to be Rasta. Yes, it's not a dreadlocks thing, it's a divine conception of the heart. Nubian, I expected to hear your small voice behind. I don't know why, for the many years I've been hearing your collabos with Bobby Wine, I don't know why you choose to always sing the small voice and he sings the big one. Yes, but the point I'm trying to make is that even when they said you're bayai, some of you had to cut off your dreadlocks, although you knew that it's not really about the dreadlocks, it's not about appearance, it's what one has at heart, what one has in their mind. You chose to cut them off to fit into the public narrative for the sake of what you believed needed to be done. You set up a leadership school whose fruits we are celebrating today, something that was unprecedented. We wondered what the curriculum was, and it has been asked many times. I heard you mention some of the things you studied, but many people have been asking, what is that school teaching and who are the lecturers? I've been able to see some of them here today. Yes, but that's no mean achievement, and beyond it being an achievement, it also shows the zeal to learn and understanding that we are not going to keep ourselves in a particular position we need to inform ourselves in order to do what we have to do. Someone said that, I forget the name, that if he was given a task of cutting down a tree and he was given 4 hours, he would spend the first 3 hours sharpening the axe and maybe 1 hour to cut the tree. You have been sharpening your axe because there was a provision that was set according to the vision, which I really commend. Earlier this year, you invited me to speak to your trainees. It was my first time to visit your facilities. One thing that struck me was how the trainees listened very attentively and with very high discipline for over 3 hours. For over 3 hours, I overstayed my welcome. I was invited to speak for 1 hour, I ended up speaking for 3. But they stayed there listening attentively. And the discipline with which they took instruction from the director, Miss Doreen Kaija, it was really amazing. At the time I visited the school, it had just been violently raided by security and most equipment had been confiscated. I asked if there was a projector that I could use for my presentation. And Doreen responded, "We don't have, everything was taken." But when I entered the room, I found it packed with people waiting for me. I asked them, "You people, how are you able to still gather in this place, yet you know you can be rounded up anytime?" They simply laughed. I found that commitment and the desire to learn quite impressive. The fourth reason why I'm here, when I'm giving the reasons, it sounds like I'm singing UB40's song. Which song is that? Even Doctor is also into the thing. Yes, reasons why I love you 1, reasons why I love you 2. Now I'm on the fourth reason. This is a selfish one. I'm here to distract myself from the pain of losing my brother and to use this occasion to make reflections on life, purpose, and resilience, which could speak to your life experiences and aspirations. When John died, almost everything I have been doing lost meaning. Kati abakamera balinze nkabe sigenda kaaba. Mwagala mukwata akafaananyi mukagyeyo nga wayise emyaka ng'akapasita Bujingo mukatambuze. Sigenda kaaba wadde enkovu zinnuma. So when John died, almost everything I have been doing lost meaning. I keep asking myself, what for? What is life all about? What is the actual difference between being alive and being dead? Why do we struggle so hard in life only to vanish like wildflowers? Why do people who try to do good suffer? Why do those who bring pain to others often live long? What is the worth of our effort on earth? Why should we continue doing anything or even continue to live? So many questions, very few clear answers. I will only expand on one here. The question of why we are here on earth is a difficult one to answer. Ensonga lwaki tuli wano ku nsi ng'abantu nzibu nnyo okuzuula. From a religious angle, the answer comes easily, that we are here to worship God and do whatever He created us to do. I would focus more on the second purpose of doing what we were created for. On the purpose of worshiping God, I'm hesitant to believe that us simply for the sake of singing His greatness. Only imperfect beings wish to be worshipped. I'm therefore more inclined to believe in worship through actions towards our fellow imperfect human beings and other animals. I don't so much believe in worship that is about only singing about God's greatness if that is not reflected in our actions. I think our actions mean much more than what we can sing. On the second purpose, how do we know what God created us for? Even the thief might argue that if we say that God knew us before we were born, then God knew that he would be a thief. Therefore, he is simply fulfilling God's plan. The torturer might make the same argument. Maybe that is why they often talk about torturing others and they mention Jesus in the same statement. Maybe that is why they would make public apologies, but without regretting or redressing any specific harm that they did to others. We would argue that perhaps the best way to tell if what we are doing or plan to do is what God created us for is to check if it is in line with what God encourages in the scriptures and what we consider to be God's nature. Can a good God create a person with the purpose of harming others? That would contradict God's nature as we know it. The other approach to understanding our purpose is by simply studying human nature in general and our particular uniqueness as individuals in our circumstances. When you keenly study human beings, you realize that there are two important elements that shape our key life choices. The two elements are happiness and pain. I consider those to be the most important aspects of human life, happiness and pain, and I will explain why. We are trying to maximize happiness for ourselves and to minimize pain or suffering. The reason you graduates chose to study is to maximize your happiness in some way and to minimize the pain that would come from not doing this course or the pain that would come from not being informed. The reason you go to hospital when you're sick is to minimize pain. The reason you seek for a well-paying job is to minimize happiness, rather to maximize happiness and minimize the pain of poverty or being broke. The reason you buy a car or build a house, the reason you produce children and take them to school is more or less the same. The reason why human beings at one point came up with the idea of having a government above them is so that it would help them to do things that they could not do individually. I don't think human beings set up governments as an end in themselves, as that a government was a good thing to be there just as a government. It was set in place to help them achieve things that they could not achieve individually, as a way of maximizing happiness, especially to protect their lives, to protect their liberty, or safeguard it, and their property. People agreed to pay taxes for the sake of what they expected in return. Therefore, governments in the modern sense were precisely created by human beings in order to maximize happiness and minimize pain. Not so that the powerful can maximize their happiness at the expense of the weak or subjects. The forms of government that survive on exploiting those under them have been tried in human history and found to be unsustainable. Even though some parts of the world still insist on them, they are not sustainable and they end up crashing, unfortunately, with so many people over time. We then realize that it is not enough for us to pursue what makes us happy and minimizes our individual pains without regard to the happiness and pain of others. The limit of your search for happiness is that point at which your happiness starts causing pain to others. This is where a sadist's view of happiness becomes problematic. A sadist is someone who gets happiness from the suffering of others. It is a mental disorder. You ever see someone celebrating the pain of others, and especially if they are not celebrating the pain of an oppressor, then that person has a mental disorder. Because naturally, you would feel bad or something would haunt you if another person is going through pain. A person who celebrates the torture of another is a sadist, except, and I want to emphasize, except if the one whose suffering is being celebrated is the kind that causes pain to others. I'm one of those who believe that it's not a bad thing to celebrate the pain of an oppressor. And I saw people throwing that at me when I lost my brother. But the difference is, my brother was not an oppressor of anyone. I'm not an oppressor of anyone, or so I would want to believe. So celebrating his death wouldn't really make sense in that context. But if the person who has died has been making the life of others unbearable, it is understandable why those people would celebrate naturally. Ideally, as human beings, the most ideal world would be one where we care about maximizing each other's happiness and minimizing each other's pain. Many conflicts in the history of humanity have been caused by a desire of different individuals or groups to exclusively care about their happiness without being bothered about the pain of others. While we human beings boast about being the only rational animals, it is strange how our rationality often fails to show us that a world where the happiness of some individuals is based on the suffering of others is never sustainable. How does our